incredible. The camera work, the way it's spinning around them and it's speeding up and speeding up. It's a very visceral visual experience. I think if it had been scored in an understated way, it wouldn't be wrong. In fact, I've actually done this as an exercise. I've taken just sort of a regular cue and put it underneath that scene, and then we cut to the big kind of action drums just for the very end, which it's fun, you know, but it doesn't work quite as well. So that was one of the best examples of that guiding philosophy. But that was really my philosophy for almost every scene. I mean, really, I always think about what is the subtext. Like, if there's obvious things you can score, like a guy's running down the hallway. Okay, someone's chasing him. But why is he chasing him? What's he thinking about? What's at stake? These are the things that, as a composer, I respond to and I resonate with. And I also think those are the things that as the audience, sometimes we maybe need a little help with. You know, like if you have a competent crew and a well-written script and you cut your movie together, you shouldn't need music to have an action scene be exciting. You shouldn't need music to create sort of a baseline tension. So for me, music is sort of like shining a spotlight on the more subtle and more interesting things that are happening. What else? Yes?
I was struck last night with respect to show Stu Phillips. I'm curious. I thought it was really nice.
Thank you.
Because a lot of times when it's reimagined something, sometimes disrespect to what went before. I thought that was terrific. I was curious, what was your connection? Because it sounded like you didn't really know the series as you're younger.
Yeah. Well, you know, I met Stu Phillips at a convention, not this one, and I don't think he liked me very much. This was very early. It was Battlestar season 1, and why should you know? I felt like when the show came out, it was by necessity needing to make a big deal out of what was different. Starbucks girl, and you know, the effects are new, and you know, and among the things that are different, I think, especially looking back on it now, nothing was more different than the music. I mean, the plot is still basically the same. Starbucks a girl, but she's still Starbucks. You know what I mean? But this bothered me on a fundamental level, because I feel, as I mentioned last night, but I reiterate, I really feel like the reason the show lasted in the pop culture for that long is that the music was there. The music really made us feel like we were having a cinematic experience, and it was memorable and it was catchy. And not just the theme, I mean, just the score to the whole show elevated in such a profound way that I always felt bad that in our new version, the thing that was the unsung hero in the old one was being disregarded, not in a disrespectful way. I mean, can you imagine if we had scored our version of Battlestar with that kind of approach? It would have been disastrous. But that always stuck with me. That always just kind of bummed me out. And in season 2, I mean, and in fact, even in the miniseries, I wasn't involved in this, but in the miniseries, we heard a little snippet. But in season 2, there was a chance to really feature Stu's theme, and they were just gonna drop in because they owned the recording. They were just gonna drop in the main title of the old show, and I'd be like, "Hey, a little Easter egg," and I was like, "Let me take a crack at this. I really want to use this opportunity to reach out to Stu." So I called him up and invited myself over. And, you know, so we sat down in the studio and I said, you know, I have a chance, I want to use your theme, and I'm going to change it. I mean, I want to update it. I didn't use that word, but I want to make it fit our show and use some of my sounds. But I want to make sure that the soul of it is correct, the soul that's right. So show me your scores. Show me everything. Like, sit down. We went through the main title, we went through exploration, a bunch of other cues, and I was asking them, like, about the trombone voicings, and I was just like, I want this part of it to be right, so that, and I wanted Stu to know that I wasn't just like transcribing it and being like, oh yeah, that's easy, and then like, let me put my twist on it. So I did my version of it, which was an orchestral version. We brought in an orchestra for this piece, and before Ron or David heard it, I took it back over to Stu's house, because if Stu didn't like it, I wasn't going to put it in the show. And I was so nervous. Oh my God, I was nervous. But he loved it. I mean, as he even mentioned last night, he loved it. And so he and I became very close. You know, I mean, he's sort of like a father figure to me, and we get together frequently. And I know I brought his music back in several times in season 4. Eric Stoltz played it in Caprica. I mean, it's sort of like Stu became a classical composer in the world of our show. So that was important to me personally. You know, I'm a fan of his music, but more than that, I just thought, if I'm lucky enough to be working when I'm his age, and somebody reinvents something that was meaningful to me, like it's just karma. I would want someone to show me that respect. What else? Yes.
I wanted to ask about